So today I'm going to be taking a look at a driving simulator that you can have at your home for your PS5. So I'm currently sat on a very small sofa in my office that I have in front of my TV and my gaming setup. I have a PS5 and I'm going to be playing Gran Turismo 7. I've got a Logitech G923 steering wheel. I've got a little gear shift, and I also have a sort of set of pedals underneath as well. This is pretty much not far off of my setup what I'd have in the car in terms of steering wheel height. Everything is adjustable on the stand. I set everything up. It didn't actually take me that long to assemble the stand. All of the pieces screw onto the stand and it's adjustable. And also this and a lot of different steering wheels and stuff like that, they link together with this stand. It's compatible with a lot of things. The stand is part of what I'm going to be looking at today. I'm going to be looking at the steering wheel. This is the Logitech one that supports True Force. I've already done a video about this setup other than the gear shift. I've not used that, but this is like a proper something that you can kind of fold up and put aside and then bring out. You can play it like this in front of your TV. You can play it wherever you want because you just sort of pick it up and move it wherever you want to play. And you can use it with a desk chair, you can use it with a sofa. Ultimately, it is a pretty impressive piece of kit. This paired with the PlayStation VR 2, which I also have as part of my setup, is essentially going to be one of the best driving simulators you can get in your home. Now, you can go a step further than what I've got here. You can get a stand that has a seat as part of it. And this stand is a fairly cheap stand. It's not the most expensive. And so I'll be testing it for things like wobble and stuff like that, because it does have a bit of wobble. You don't get that in your car. So will that be something that's quite distracting when you're playing? Well, we're going to see. But first, before I go into full VR mode, I am going to play this just like this in front of the TV that I have in front of me. And what I want to be doing is sort of ranking different parts of this setup as being the most important to least important thing to give you the best driving simulator setup that you can get. Okay, so I've got full pedals, clutch, gear stick, left side because I'm British. Let's go. Whoa! There we go. Yeah, this is it now. I've got my head around it. So I've got my head around changing gear, which funny enough, it's surprising how much of a difference changing gear with a gear stick makes compared to the flappy paddles. Being able just to switch from like 5th straight into 2nd and know where you're going to be, that is a much more familiar driving experience to me. Being able to like quickly dart down gears whilst in neutral, do you know what I mean? Makes such a difference. You know what? That was actually quite a bit of fun. I would say the VR makes a massive difference. Don't get me wrong. But without the VR, I've got a fairly large TV in front of me, which helps. I think if I had a small screen, it probably wouldn't necessarily feel as good. But I mean, that's as good as anything you're going to play in an arcade. Do you know what I mean? Unless you got like one of those ones that literally like moves around. That is as good as you're going to get. The gear shift, as much as like it's a bit wobbly on the stand, do you know what I mean? But the gear shift, being able to switch down a gear, that is a game changer because I've not used that before. That and the stand are the two new things I've had. I've had the pedal and I've been using it at my desk with the VR headset, and that is obviously fantastic. But even without the headset, having the stand and being able to sit in front of your TV with the stand, that makes a huge difference. And I imagine if you've got a fairly decent sized TV and you want to play this, the stand then becomes essential because you want to sit in front of the TV. You can't have that on your lap, do you know what I mean? So you need something in front of you, and suddenly that becomes amazing. Now, I'm not uncomfortable on this sofa with that. It's not the biggest sofa in the world. If I think I've had a massive reclined like I've got in my living room, it probably wouldn't feel as good on that sofa, and then you might want to use something like an office chair or something like that. But I've got an office chair that I could use if I wanted to. But yeah, massively impressed with this. The gear stick as well is quite good. So you've got 6 gears, and then you also have a reverse by pushing down on the gear stick and moving it into reverse. So if you do spin out, you can quickly go into reverse, which is much easier than when you're, because you feel a bit lost when you just got the flappy paddles as to how to get into reverse. As well, flappy paddles going up and down 1 gear at a time. It's alright, but being able to be in 5th, and then you slam the brake on, and then you fire yourself straight into 2nd, because you know that's going to give you the best push forward, instead of having to go do to get yourself going. It's so much quicker, and it just means you're going to get better lap times, and it feels more like a real car. I mean, if you drive with a gear stick, you'll know what I mean. What can I say? What can I say? So I'm massively impressed, but I need to also try this with a VR headset on. Oh my word. Whoa. Oh crikey. It's so ridiculously good. I cannot get my head around just how ridiculously good that experience is. I mean, I would say at a desk, obviously, I mean, the stand just makes a big difference. The stand makes a bigger difference when you're playing with the TV. When through the stand, I could feel the vibrations of like rumble strips through my feet and my hands. The gear stick is like something that I just wouldn't have expected to make such a massive difference, but it just makes it feel like a real car. It makes it easier to drive, to be able to switch down into like 2nd from 5th. And then with the VR headset on top of it, it's just... You couldn't ask for a better driving simulator. I mean, maybe if you had one that wobbled around and stuff like that, or if you were just in an actual car. Do you know what I mean? I feel like that's the next best thing, is to just have a track day. Except this one, you can go through a million different cars, you can crash it, and no one's going to get annoyed at you, so... It's just phenomenal. I mean, if you have a PSVR 2, you've got to get Gran Turismo, because it's such... It just is... It's like they're made for each other. You need to do that. And if you are remotely interested in driving games, this is a must. You got to save up, and instead of buying other games, save up and just get a setup like this, because it's so good. Because I'm not the biggest driving game fan, but this is so good. It's so good. I cannot... Like, I've played a lot of VR games, and I've played driving games, and this is just... this isn't the first time I've done it. I've done Gran Turismo, do you know what I mean? And I've not played it for a little while, and I've come back to it with this. And it's just... I forget how amazingly good it is. It's so good. And you can play it in, like, a million different racetracks. This is so good. Some thoughts on a few of the things. Steering wheel, couldn't be happier with it. Especially with, like, fixed to the stand and stuff like that. I genuinely couldn't be happy with it. It feels amazing. The feedback on it, the true force feedback, because it's the G923, not just the G29 or the G920. It's so good. Like, it feels real when you're driving, and that's as good as a compliment as you can get from it, because it's either going to feel real or it's not going to feel real, and it feels real. The gear stick, I've gone on about the gear stick. Pedals, again, with the G923, you've got a better brake pedal. It feels like you have to really put your foot down to brake, and it makes a big difference, genuinely. It's because, obviously, like, if you just got a loose brake pedal, and it just feels like the other pedals, it doesn't feel like a real car. Your brake isn't meant to feel spongy. It's meant to feel firm, like you're pushing down on something. Stand wise, I was a little bit concerned that would be a bit too flexy, because like if you do that, it does wobble. Do you know what I mean? It's not like in the game. I just didn't notice it in the slightest. There was no point where I was like, "Cool, the stand's a bit wobbly there." So yeah, not an issue for me. It has wobble when you're not playing, but who cares? As long as you don't notice it when you're in the game, and I didn't notice it. I think this is a difficult thing to rank as to what you should get first or what you don't need to get until last type thing, because there are different combinations that might suit you better. The first thing I would recommend 100% is the VR2 headset, because it transforms it in such a massive way. Now, if you don't get the VR headset first, it changes how you do things, I would say. So the second thing you should get is the steering wheel and the pedals. That's just obviously a no-brainer, because you can't use the stand without those things anyway. So I would go VR headset first. If not, just skip that step, get the steering wheel and pedals. At that point then, I would then go for the stand, would be my next sort of main thing that you should get if you don't have the VR headset. Because if you don't have the VR headset, the stand becomes something that will make it easier for you to play this in front of a TV. And then that makes it more immersive. If you're playing this at a desk, having a smaller screen, I don't think it looks as good as if you have a TV in front of you and then the stand so you can sit on a sofa or even on a chair in front of your TV. Now, if you do have the VR headset, I would then get the gear stick before getting the stand, because you can get the gear stick and attach it to a desk or to a separate table if you wanted to do that. But I feel like you're going to already be getting pretty much an ideal experience with a desk setup and the VR headset. And the stand adds to that, definitely. But it doesn't add as much as I think that extra functionality of having the gear stick alongside it. And then at that point, I would then go for the stand. And that way, so it's a different way round depending on if you get the VR headset or if you don't have the VR headset. But before you do anything, I would recommend the VR headset, because it turns Gran Turismo 7 from a game that's probably 6 or 7 out of 10 to easily 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10. It transforms that game massively. Again, the steering wheel without the VR headset does the same thing. It brings it up massively. I just don't think it's as much of a jump as the VR headset. Now, you can get different variations of these gadgets. You can get a different stand. You can get stands with seats, which I think probably is just a little bit too much. I can fold this one away and pack it down, stick it under the sofa. I can't do that. If it has a massive racing seat attached to it, it's just going to be in the way. That being said, there are also different wheels you can get, and people argue online over which way to go. Some people say the wheel that I've got is unnecessary. You can get the lower spec one, and yeah, you're more than welcome to do that. I can't really tell you whether that's a thing to do or not, because I haven't tried the lower one. I think there is a difference about the brake pedal and stuff like that, and not having true force, which adds something, adds more sort of real textures and stuff like that in the wheel, I think, when you're going over different things. But I'm not massively clear on that, so I can't really tell you to go cheaper or go more expensive. There are tons of options to do that and to customize this anyway. This is just the way I've done. Now, I've put links in the description to every single thing that I have used in this setup, and you can pick and choose if you want to, and you can change it up for other brands and whatever you want to do. But if you want to match what I've done, down there is exactly what I've done. Now, it is a lot to do just for sort of an accessory for one game, I would say. It turns a £60, $60 game into a potentially £900 game or whatever it is with all the things added together. It's not that much. That was a bit of an overestimate. Well, I don't know, it might be close to that. But guys, I'd love to know what you think. Do you think this setup is excessive? I mean, my wife does. Would you swap out any of the stuff like I have? Put your recommendations for different parts of this in the comments below. And guys, if you want to see more videos along this line, tech, gaming, all that stuff, hit the subscribe button, and I will see you in the next one. Whoop!